November 25th, 1988, a man sits in his car listening to the weather report and writing it down in his notebook. His 9-year-old daughter, Denise, sits beside him, bored, but he remains focused on his observations, especially since the weather isn't matching the forecast. Just then, Leonard, an employee at the weather station, rushes to the car, carrying weather observation journals from the past few years. However, before he can hand them over, security arrives. Uno doesn't hesitate. He steps on the gas and drives off, leaving Leonard behind as security detains him. 8 years pass. Denise has grown into a teenager with a criminal streak. One evening, she breaks through a fence surrounding a restricted area, letting in a group of thrill seekers. Her friend reminds everyone that her father was obsessed with UFOs. He's long gone, but she still believes in aliens. Suddenly, an alarm goes off. The group runs. Denise jumps on her bike but crashes into a police car at the exit. Officer Tommy detains her and lectures her on the way. She's already been through several foster families. Meanwhile, on a nearby farm, the owner heads to the barn. Suddenly, the overhead light bulbs start exploding. He flips the main switch and the problem stops. But then, a crash echoes from above. Out of nowhere, a car plummets to the ground, landing right beside him. The next morning, Denise spots a newspaper article about the strange incident. She recognizes the car. It belonged to her father. She goes to see Tommy, but Tommy reminds her that her father disappeared in the mountains where police found his car that night. Denise sneaks onto the farm to inspect the vehicle but gets caught by the police. She makes a run for it, accidentally pressing a button on a tape recorder. Her father's favorite song starts playing. She quickly speeds away. Back home, she flips through her father's notebook, recalling how he once studied the stolen folders while she read out the data he needed. Using that information, Uno calculated the exact spot in the mountains where the aliens had landed. He drove off. That was the last time she ever saw him. The next morning, Denise visits the UFO Association and finds a report about a plane that vanished over the Baltic Sea. Moving to the next room, she sees several members at work. Just then, Tona answers a call. Someone claims to have seen a UFO over Sweden, but it turns out to be just the full moon. On top of that, they have reports of power losses, odd headlights, satellites, dirty lenses, and flying plastic bags, but no real UFOs. Denise asks to meet the chairperson, who turns out to be her father's old friend, Leonard. Denise points out that heavy rain was predicted on Friday, yet it never came. Then the power went out, and 5 minutes later, a car crashed through a farmer's roof. The farmer saw a red light in the sky, and inside the car was her father's favorite cassette, proving it was his. Now the vehicle sits at the police station. The association members dismiss anything without proof, but if new facts emerge, they must investigate. Leonard decides they're heading to the old weather station. The members load into a van and set off. They soon arrive at the station and set up their counters. One of the members, Gunnar, is unhappy with Denise's presence, seeing her as just as crazy as her father. Leonard then notices a newly installed fence enclosing the weather station, one that shouldn't be there. Taking a closer look at the equipment inside, Denise is astonished. These are the latest generation of supercomputers. She suggests hacking the system and using the station's calculations. However, Leonard refuses to do anything illegal. The ufologists move farther from the station and set up their own equipment, but nothing works. Leonard then spots someone with a flashlight inside the restricted area and quickly realizes Denise has disobeyed him. Just then, several cars pull up and he orders the group to leave. Meanwhile, Denise opens one of the devices. Among the arrivals, Leonard recognizes his former colleagues. Denise hides behind the device as Leonard calls out to a woman named Kiki. She admits their institute has launched a UFO research division. At the same time, Denise removes a data disk from the device and tries to escape. Meanwhile, Kiki and Leonard continue arguing, with Leonard accusing her of lying to their bosses. Otherwise, why come here at night? He suddenly realizes Denise is trapped. Rushing back to the van, he starts the engine and rams it straight into the station gate, breaking it open. Denise jumps in just as Kiki orders someone to chase them. But at that moment, one of the installations sparks and flares, giving Leonard's van the chance to break free. As they speed off, Leonard urges Denise to read the data as quickly as possible, while Gunnar worries about the police. Denise connects the disk and finds extensive data on measurements of Earth's gravitational field. Leonard explains that her father believed inaccurate weather forecasts were caused by disruptions in the planet's gravitational field. Just then, Tona spots strange lights in a nearby field and suggests they investigate. The van heads toward the lights, but they suddenly vanish. Leonard zigzags across the field when something glowing streaks overhead, painting the sky red. In the distance, police sirens wail. They decide to head back to town, though Denise can't believe the ufologists would abandon the spot where the UFO landed. Leonard suggests she search the stolen disc for clues. In response, she hands him her father's notebook, hoping he can solve Uno's equation. Meanwhile, the police try to make sense of what happened at the weather station. Kiki blames a power surge, but Tommy isn't convinced. She suspects the UFO Association is involved and insists it's time to shut them down. Kiki demands the return of the stolen items, offering to provide any testimony the police need in exchange. Denise studies the stolen disc when Tommy shows up at her home, asking about the association and wanting to check her backpack. Denise snaps back, and Tommy, realizing she's pushed too hard, backs off and leaves. Denise rushes to the association and reveals that Kiki began investigating gravitational anomalies on the exact day her father disappeared. This proves Uno was on the right track. The ufologists decide to keep the hard drive and uncover the truth. Just as the police enter through the main entrance, they slip out the back and drive to Leonard's place, which turns out to be a junkyard. There, Leonard returns Uno's notebook to Denise, admitting he can't make sense of it. Instead, he suggests they conduct some field research. Each ufologist sketches their idea of a UFO and suggests a possible research direction. Meanwhile, they go door to door, gathering eyewitness accounts of anything unusual. Denise plots their observations on a map, which helps pinpoint a possible UFO landing site. Gunnar watches from the sidelines. When Leonard invites him to join the search, he declines, citing a bad leg. However, he clearly disapproves of what's happening. After Leonard leaves, Gunnar secretly calls the police to inquire about the car found on the farm. The ufologists trek through the rain toward the location they identified, but there's nothing unusual there. Disappointed, Denise hurls the UFO detection device into the bushes and storms off. Meanwhile, at the Swedish Meteorological and Hydrological Institute, SMHI, a meeting is underway. Kiki faces tough questions about the dismantling of the weather station, which was done without official funding. Just then, Tommy calls, informing her that the ufologists have vanished. If they connect the disc to any system, it will immediately show up on the Institute's network. Kiki hands Tommy her laptop, allowing them to track the disc. Meanwhile, Leonard takes Denise back to his place, where the group has decided to celebrate. They give her a badge, marking her official entry into the association. Denise hugs Leonard as the others cheer. The moment is cut short when Gunnar arrives, showing off a car he bought from the police. However, Denise insists the car she saw in the barn was different. It was playing her dad's music. Gunnar dismisses her, playing the same cassette, claiming it's something anyone could find at a flea market. With no real evidence, Denise storms out. Outside, she rips off her badge and throws it to the ground. Just then, Denise spots Tommy, who asked her to check Kiki's computer, find the association's IP address, and help track its members. Denise agrees, but secretly copies files from Tommy's laptop and faxes them to the association. She pretends the search was unsuccessful, and Tommy leaves. However, Tommy soon notices Denise's discarded association badge and realizes she was deceived. She turns back, but Denise escapes through the window, rushes to the association, and starts analyzing the stolen data. It becomes clear that a UFO crashed into a nearby lake. She calls Leonard and tells him what she's learned. At that moment, Gunnar barges in, trying to intimidate her and demanding she leave the association voluntarily. But before she can respond, a police siren blares outside. Denise flees and reunites with the others at Leonard's trailer. Together, they head for the lake, bringing an old crane truck. They arrive at the site and begin salvage work. Soon they realize they found something. Denise turns on the winch, and a massive object starts rising from the depths. Tona starts the truck, but the weight pulls it dangerously close to the edge. Suddenly, the object smashes through the pier, flipping the truck bed and nearly crushing them. As the water settles, an airplane emerges. Denise admits she learned about it by hacking the Institute's network. Mocking their outdated methods, she calls them freaks. Offended, the team walks away. Soon, the police find Denise and detain her. Tommy tells her she's being sent to a special juvenile facility where she belongs. Noticing the plane they pulled out, Denise reads its tail number and remembers the newspaper story about its disappearance. She demands Tommy stop the car, but when Tommy refuses, Denise tries to open the door. Tommy gets distracted, loses control, and the vehicle crashes into a ditch. After making sure Tommy is alive, Denise runs off. Meanwhile, the association members return to their headquarters, where Gunnar is cleaning up after the police search. Suddenly, Denise rushes in, certain the plane vanished just like her father's car. Uno had figured it all out, accurately calculating where and when the UFO would reappear, and Kiki must know how to interpret his notes. She apologizes to the team, and when Gunnar objects, Leonard supports her. Leaving his badge on the table, he walks out with Denise. They drive to the institute, sneak inside, and find Kiki's lab. Kiki is about to call security, but Denise shows her Uno's notebook. At first, she dismisses the notes as nonsense, but then she suddenly realizes it's a brilliant solution and suggests entering the equation into their system. Meanwhile, Gunnar tries to take control of the association, but the others push back and decide to help Denise and Leonard. Frustrated, Gunnar calls the police, claiming the association plans to blow up SMHI that night. In the lab, the computer displays an error message just as the police arrive outside. Denise asks for more details while Leonard heads to the archives and the police order an evacuation. Leonard radios Kiki with the data he's found. The computer confirms that the gravitational anomalies are actually an Einstein-Rosen bridge. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, two black holes can be connected by a wormhole, creating the shortest path between distant points in space. However, the human world has 4 dimensions: width, length, height, and time. Forming a wormhole requires crossing both space and time, which is exactly what happened. That's why Uno's car and the airplane reappeared where they did. They passed through the wormhole. Suddenly, the police knocks the door, and Denise quickly copies the data. Kiki is detained, while Denise escapes. Leonard also manages to slip away, but outside they're confronted by an irate Tommy, who smashes the hard drive containing the data. As they're being escorted out of the building, a car carrying the ufologists suddenly pulls up. It drives between the police vehicles, broadcasting a message that a star frigate from the Galactic Federation has arrived on Earth with friendly intentions. Denise and Leonard have no idea what's going on, but the police, suspecting a bomb, open fire. Denise realizes it's her father's car. While the police are thrown off balance, she and Leonard climb in, and the car speeds away. As they drive, Denise explains that the wormhole transported her father's car into the barn and the plane into the lake, but from a future point in time. A police chase ensues. Denise heads to the top floor of a parking garage, only to be stopped by an armed Tommy, who orders them out of the car. Leonard encouraged Denise that if the car is destined for the barn, they won't crash now. Gaining confidence, she hits the gas. Tommy watches red flashes light up the sky, but the car vanishes. Denise and Leonard reappear in the barn, but the gravitational force throws them into a snowy field. Leonard's leg is gravely injured. He urges Denise to go without him. She hesitates but eventually leaves. After following the light in the distance, Denise comes face to face with her father, who calls her to follow before the wormhole closes. She hesitates, then remembers Leonard and rushes back to help him reach the barn. Suddenly, a car crashes through the wall, soaring over them. Denise and Leonard collapse into the snow, staring at the red lights above. In an instant, they find themselves in a summer meadow. A knight rides up, declaring it's the year 1360 AD, but soon it becomes clear they're actually in 1998, surrounded by reenactors. Denise calls the association, and the ufologists rush to the hospital. Later, they celebrate the association's resurgence as new members continue to join. Leonard learns that Denise has started a new project, aiming to uncover who helped them return and how. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this. We've got a lot of great content coming your way. Take care and see you again soon.